Your greatest weakness is not that you love too deeply. It is that you abandon yourself whenever you fear losing someone. You tolerate disrespect, accept weak excuses, ignore cold behavior, and call your suffering loyalty. You keep proving your value to people who have already decided to take it for granted. You beg for attention, chase explanations, and lower your standards just to keep someone close. But understand this, every time you forgive what should have ended the connection, you teach them that hurting you has no price. Machiavelli understood that people rarely respect what they can control without consequences. When they know you will always return, always respond, and always accept less, your loyalty stops looking powerful. It begins looking desperate. Choosing yourself first is not selfish. It is survival. It is strategy. It is the moment you stop asking, "How do I make them stay?" and start asking, "Why would I want someone who must be convinced to value me?" A man with self-worth does not compete for basic respect. He does not beg for love, chase closure, or negotiate his dignity. He observes actions, accepts reality, and walks away without creating a scene. His silence is not weakness. It is a closed door. His distance is not revenge. It is self-respect. The moment you become willing to lose anyone who requires you to lose yourself, you become dangerous. Their silence can no longer control your emotions. Their absence can no longer destroy your focus. Their approval can no longer define your worth. Comment, "I will never abandon myself again." Write it like a promise. From this moment forward, you will stop building your life around who chooses you. You will build yourself so strongly that anyone who enters your world must bring respect, loyalty, and value, or leave without taking your power with them. Number 2. Stop asking others to confirm your value. The moment you depend on someone else to confirm your worth, you hand them control over your identity. Their attention becomes your confidence. Their silence becomes your punishment. Their approval makes you feel powerful, and their rejection makes you question everything about yourself. This is how emotional dependence begins, not with love, but with permission. You begin waiting for someone else to give you permission to feel attractive, important, respected, or enough. And once they realize that your self-image rises and falls according to their behavior, they no longer need strength to control you. They only need inconsistency. A little attention to pull you close, a little distance to make you chase, a compliment to reward you, silence to discipline you. Dark psychology understands this pattern clearly. Uncertainty creates obsession. What is predictable feels safe, but what is inconsistent keeps the mind trapped. That is why you must stop confusing emotional confusion with deep connection. Someone who constantly makes you question your place in their life is not giving you love. They are giving you instability. And instability is not passion. It is control disguised as chemistry. Machiavelli would tell you to study behavior, not promises. Anyone can speak warmly when they fear losing access to you. Watch what they do when they believe you will stay no matter what. That is where their true character appears. Self-worth begins when you stop negotiating with evidence. You stop defending people against the truth of their actions. You stop creating excuses for behavior that repeatedly wounds you. You accept what is happening without trying to make it prettier. This acceptance may hurt, but it also frees you. Because once you stop seeking validation from the person who weakened you, they lose the power to rebuild or destroy your confidence. You become the source. You decide your standards. You measure your progress. You approve of the man you are becoming. Comment, "My value is not up for debate." Write it with certainty. You were never created to stand outside someone's heart, begging them to recognize what you carry. Build your worth in silence and let your absence teach people what your presence once gave them. Number 3. Detach from the need to be chosen. You become easy to control when being chosen matters more to you than choosing wisely. You start performing for affection. You change your personality, silence your needs, and become smaller so someone else can feel comfortable keeping you around. You call it compromise, but deep inside, you know the truth. You are auditioning for a place that should have been offered with respect. This is where your power begins to disappear. The need to be chosen makes you tolerate uncertainty because even painful attention feels better than being ignored. It makes you accept mixed signals because your mind keeps hoping the next message will finally give you peace. But peace never comes from the same person who keeps creating confusion. Machiavelli understood that desperation destroys leverage. The person who needs the outcome most is usually the person with the least power. So detach. Not by pretending you do not care, but by caring more about your dignity than their decision. Stop seeing rejection as proof that you are not enough. Sometimes rejection is protection from a relationship that would have slowly emptied you. Sometimes being overlooked saves you from becoming trapped. A strong man does not measure his worth by who selects him. He watches carefully and asks whether they deserve access to his time, loyalty, focus, and emotional energy. He does not chase people simply because they are difficult to obtain. Scarcity does not equal value. Distance does not equal depth. Mystery does not equal character. Learn to separate attraction from suitability. You can desire someone and still know they are wrong for your life. You can miss them and still refuse to return. You can feel pain and still protect your future. That is emotional discipline. Comment: I choose myself without apology. Let those words become your new law. You are not waiting to be picked from a crowd. You are building standards so high that access to you becomes earned. The moment you stop begging to be chosen, you gain the clarity to choose what strengthens you and reject everything that weakens you. Number 4, make your boundaries more expensive to cross. People do not respect boundaries because you explain them beautifully. They respect boundaries when crossing them produces consequences. You can tell someone 100 times that their behavior hurts you, but if you remain available after every betrayal, your words become background noise. They learn that your anger passes, your standards bend, and your absence is never permanent. This is why weak boundaries attract repeated disrespect, not because you deserve it, but because people study what you tolerate. Machiavelli understood that human behavior is shaped less by promises and more by consequences. If disrespect costs them nothing, they have no reason to stop. So stop announcing every limit, enforce it. When someone lies, withdraw access. When they manipulate, end the conversation. When they repeatedly disregard your time, stop making yourself available. Do not threaten, do not perform. Do not create dramatic speeches hoping they will finally understand your value. Let your actions become the message. A boundary without enforcement is only a request, and people who benefit from your weakness will always ignore requests. You must become comfortable disappointing those who were comfortable disrespecting you. They may call you cold because warmth once made you easy to use. They may call you selfish because your self-respect interrupts their access. Let them speak. Their opinion is not your prison. Your job is not to remain convenient. Your job is to remain aligned with your standards. Understand this clearly. Forgiveness does not require renewed access. You can release resentment and still close the door. You can wish someone well and still refuse to let them return. That is not cruelty. That is intelligence built from experience. Comment: my boundaries protect my power. Write it with conviction. From now on, anyone who enters your life must understand that your loyalty is valuable, your time is limited, and your presence is not guaranteed. Make respect the price of access, and never again offer unlimited chances to people who keep proving they do not deserve one. Number 5. Stop chasing closure from people who created the wound. You keep searching for closure because part of you believes the right explanation will finally calm your mind. You want them to admit what they did. You want them to acknowledge your pain, explain their distance, confess their manipulation, and give you one honest sentence that makes everything easier to accept. But understand this: the person who created your confusion may never become the person who gives you clarity. In fact, some people withhold closure because they know uncertainty keeps you emotionally connected. As long as you are asking why, they still occupy your mind. As long as you are waiting for an apology, they still control part of your peace. Machiavelli would warn you never to depend on the conscience of another person for your freedom. Their confession is not required. Their regret is not required. Their understanding is not required. The evidence is already in their behavior. They knew you were hurting. They saw you becoming anxious. They watched you question yourself, and they still continued. That is your answer. Stop returning to the scene of your humiliation, hoping to recover your dignity from the same hands that damaged it. Closure is not a conversation. Closure is a decision. It is the moment you stop reopening the door just because they knock differently. It is accepting that some stories end without justice, some people leave without honesty, and some wounds heal without an apology. A powerful man does not spend years investigating why someone failed to value him. He studies the lesson, strengthens the boundary, and moves forward. He refuses to let one person's inability to love correctly become a lifelong sentence. Comment: I give myself the closure I was denied. Write it with cold certainty. You do not need one final message. You do not need one last meeting. You do not need them to understand what they lost. Let your silence close the chapter. Let your discipline rebuild what their chaos weakened. And let your disappearance become the final answer to every question they were too careless to resolve. Number 6. Turn your pain into discipline. Pain becomes dangerous when it has no direction. If you sit inside it too long, it turns into obsession. You replay conversations, inspect old messages, imagine different endings, and punish yourself with questions that no longer deserve answers. But pain can also become fuel. It can sharpen you, discipline you, and force you to build the version of yourself that comfort never could. This is where weak men collapse and strong men begin. Machiavelli understood that suffering reveals what pleasure hides. It shows you where you were dependent, where you were careless, and where you gave another person too much authority over your mind. Do not waste that information. Study it. Use it. Turn every sleepless night into a reason to strengthen your routine. Turn every rejection into another hour of work. Turn every moment of loneliness into training for emotional independence. You do not heal by waiting to feel motivated. You heal by creating structure when your emotions are unstable. Wake up on time, train your body, control your impulses, protect your focus, build skills that increase your value. Keep promises to yourself, especially when no one is watching. This is how self-worth becomes real, not through affirmations alone, but through evidence. Every difficult action you complete tells your mind, I can trust myself. And the more you trust yourself, the less you need others to reassure you. Soon, the person who once distracted you becomes irrelevant to the mission in front of you. Their absence stops feeling like a wound because your life is no longer empty enough to revolve around it. Comment: my pain will build my power. Write it like an oath. Do not beg life to remove the pressure. Become the man the pressure cannot break. Let the disappointment harden your standards, not your heart. Let the betrayal improve your judgment, not destroy your capacity to love. And let the pain become proof that you survived the version of yourself who once believed losing them meant losing everything. Number 7. Become unavailable to disrespect. The strongest transformation begins when you stop trying to prove that you deserve better and simply become unavailable to anything less. Most people waste years explaining their worth to those who already understand it, but prefer the benefits of pretending not to. They know you are loyal, they know you care, they know your patience is rare. That is exactly why they test how much of it they can consume without giving anything equal in return. This is where you must become colder, not cruel. Colder means you stop reacting to every provocation. You stop defending yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stop answering messages designed only to reopen access. You stop returning to places where your dignity was repeatedly negotiated. Machiavelli understood that power is often preserved through controlled absence. When your presence is guaranteed, it loses weight. When access to you depends on respect, your silence begins to speak with authority. Do not announce that you are done. Become done. Do not threaten to disappear. Remove yourself. Do not argue for better treatment. Let poor treatment become the reason someone no longer reaches you. This is not a game, it is discipline. You are training people how to engage with you by what you permit and what you permanently reject. Some will accuse you of changing. They are correct. You changed because the old version of you kept paying for peace with self-betrayal. You changed because being endlessly understanding made you easy to exploit. You changed because your future requires a stronger gatekeeper. Comment: disrespect loses access to me. Write it without anger. Your power is not in making them regret what they did. Your power is in becoming so committed to your standards that their regret no longer matters. Let them misunderstand your silence. Let them tell their version. Let them call you distant. You are not here to remain available to everyone. You are here to become loyal to the life, identity, and self-respect you are finally building. Number 8. Master the silence that rebuilds you. There comes a point when talking becomes another form of weakness. You explain yourself to people who have already decided not to understand. You defend your intentions to those who benefit from misreading them. You keep sending messages because silence feels unbearable, but every unnecessary word gives away more of your emotional position. This is why you must learn to disappear without announcing your departure. Silence is not always avoidance. Sometimes it is the discipline of refusing to expose your wounds to people who would only study where to strike again. Machiavelli understood that information is power, and your emotions are information. When people know exactly what hurts you, what you fear, and what you still hope for, they can predict your reactions. They know when you will return. They know which words will soften you. They know how long they must ignore you before you begin chasing. Break that pattern. Become less readable. Stop posting indirect messages. Stop checking whether they noticed your absence. Stop trying to create regret. Your silence must not be a performance designed to pull them back. It must be a private space where you return to yourself. Use it to examine your mistakes without hating yourself. Use it to rebuild your routine, restore your focus, and separate your identity from the relationship that consumed it. The longer you sit with your own mind without reaching for their validation, the stronger your emotional control becomes. Soon, you will realize you were not missing them. You were missing the relief they occasionally gave you from the pain they repeatedly caused. That is not love. That is dependency. Comment: my silence restores my strength. Write it and mean it. Let your absence become permanent where your presence was abused. Let your peace become more important than being understood. And remember, the quietest man in the room is not always powerless. Sometimes he has simply learned that his energy is too valuable to spend explaining a decision he has already made. Number 9. Build a life that does not collapse when someone leaves. You become impossible to control when your entire life is no longer built around one person. Weak attachment begins when someone becomes your only source of excitement, comfort, identity, and direction. Then their mood changes your day. Their distance destroys your focus. Their departure feels like the end of your world because you built no world outside them. This is why choosing yourself first requires construction. You must build a body you respect, work that demands your focus, standards that protect your peace, and goals that continue whether anyone stays or leaves. Machiavelli understood that dependence creates vulnerability. When one person controls everything you value emotionally, they hold a weapon they can use without touching you. Remove that weapon. Expand your life. Develop interests that do not require permission. Strengthen friendships that are built on mutual respect. Learn to enjoy solitude without turning it into isolation. Make your days so purposeful that you no longer sit waiting for one message to decide whether you feel alive. A strong man can love deeply, but he never makes another person the foundation of his existence. He gives from strength, not emptiness. He stays because he chooses to, not because he is terrified of standing alone. And when someone leaves, he feels the pain without surrendering his identity. His routine continues. His mission remains. His value does not disappear with their attention. Comment: my life is bigger than anyone's absence. Write it with certainty. You are not becoming cold enough to need no one. You are becoming complete enough to stop needing the wrong person. Build a life that makes desperation impossible. Build discipline that protects you from emotional chaos. Build confidence through action, competence, and self-command. Then love will no longer be a place where you beg to be rescued. It will become a choice between two whole people. And anyone who tries to leave you broken will discover something too late. They were only part of your life. They were never the source of it. Number 10. Choose yourself, even when it hurts. Choosing yourself will not always feel powerful in the beginning. Sometimes it will feel like loneliness. Sometimes it will feel like grief. You will miss people you know you should never return to. You will question your decision on quiet nights. You will remember the good moments and temporarily forget the price you paid for them. But this is the final test of self-worth. Can you protect yourself even when your emotions beg you to betray yourself again? Machiavelli understood that mastery begins when reason becomes stronger than impulse. Anyone can walk away while angry. Power is staying away after the anger disappears and the attachment returns. Power is remembering why the door closed when nostalgia tries to repaint the past. You must stop mistaking familiarity for safety. The person you miss may still be the person who weakened you. The connection may have felt intense, but intensity without respect is only chaos. Choose the pain that heals you over the comfort that destroys you. Choose temporary loneliness over permanent humiliation. Choose your future over one more repetition of the past. You do not need to hate them. You do not need revenge. You do not need to prove that you won. Your victory is becoming someone who no longer accepts what once controlled him. Your victory is waking up without checking for their message. It is building peace without their apology. It is becoming proud of the man in the mirror because he finally kept a promise to himself. Comment: I choose myself and I never beg again. Let that be your final declaration. Your worth was never determined by who stayed, who left, or who failed to recognize it. It was determined by what you were willing to protect. From this day forward, protect your mind, protect your standards, protect your dignity, and never abandon yourself just to keep someone else. If this message awakened something inside you, like this video, subscribe to Psychopedia, and turn on notifications. This is not the end of your story. This is the moment you take your power back.